Café and Networking Podcast promotes successful business experts. I'm Tom Reaoch, known as the King of Networking, connecting people throughout the world from my podcast studio in Brazil. And today we talk with Amanda Guerassio, and she's joining us from Austin, Texas. Amanda Guerassio is a brand strategist, designer that partners with serial entrepreneurs, freedom seekers, and multi-passionate empire builders to craft branding that feels right, works hard, and looks awesome. So Amanda, how did you uplevel from freelancer mindset to entrepreneur mindset?
Yeah, hi, and thanks for having me, Tom. I would say the biggest differentiator between the freelance mindset and the entrepreneur mindset is, freelancers are kind of order takers. They take what comes to them. They kind of just do the job, get paid, move on. Entrepreneurs, you're kind of stepping into that expert space. So you're the partner, you're the somebody that gives the expertise, not just the order taker. You make recommendations, you can push back with clients, you are more specific in what you do. So there's that level to it in how you provide the service, right? And so it's deciding, you don't want to be an order taker. Hey, I'm an expert in this, and kind of owning that. That is part of it. And then on the running the business side of things, it's getting organized. It's setting, it's figuring out what you actually want and then taking action to do it. So setting boundaries, being clear on who you work with, being clear on what kind of work you want to do. And for me, this was a lot of saying no in the beginning. So I had to, say goodbye to some clients that had been with me for a while, but just weren't a good fit for this new direction I wanted to go in. Because I was a generalist designer before, like I said, with the freelance mindset, like kind of anything anybody would pay me to do, I was doing. Right. And so when I founded Studio Guerassio and was thinking about it as a business, I wanted to focus on branding. So if I wanted to do that, I had to say no to things that weren't that. And that was a very hard step for me because I don't like disappointing people. So that was something I had to work on for sure. And then also along with that, just the type of business I wanted to build. I didn't want to be at the beck and call of clients at all hours. So I had to set boundaries with how they could communicate with me, when they could communicate with me, things like that. I set processes in place for, the contract needs to be signed, the deposit needs to be paid, all those kind of back end things before work even starts, So a lot of things like that with the organization and the process too. And a lot of that was just, deciding what I wanted this new business to look like and then taking steps to make that happen.
And we all, I don't want to say we suffer through that, but we've gone through that. I've gone through that. Many people I know, the same thing. Either they transition from a typical job, right, 9 to 5, whatever, and then pick up and start freelancing or do it as a side gig even while they're working. And then really one thing leads to another. But that freelancing, there's sort of a certain liberty involved, but also probably a higher level of anxiety because you're always on call. It's sort of like ER, right? Yeah,
it's very reactive. You're reacting to things that happen to you or come your way. Whereas I think, being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, you're more proactive. You're actively taking steps to shape this thing into what you want. And that it's not like a switch flips and you're immediately going from one to the other. It's a process that, you have to slowly build up and work through. But yeah, I think the main part is just, sitting down to decide what do you want this career to look like.
Back to that point you mentioned, which is interesting. How long did it take you to transition? Or could you, do you remember that?
I don't know that I could put a good solid timeline on it. It was probably at least a year or so before I was comfortable in the entrepreneur pants, so to speak. I had the extra catalyst of I was getting married and my name was changing. So my freelance business had been under my maiden name. So I was going to have to change things up anyway. So that was a good kick in the butt to actually
that goes back to personal branding, right?
Yes.
And I say that to many. I speak to women networking groups, and one of the first things I say is, oh, keep your name. Keep your name.
It, I don't mind my new name. It's got a nice ring to it. So, I had built up a good bit of like SEO and, website presence with my old name. So I do kind of regret that I let that part go. But I also like formalizing the business and naming it something else that wasn't just my name. It's Studio Guerassio, not just Amanda Guerassio. That left me room to grow if I want to, if I do want to hire employees or something, I can do that. And it made me feel a little bit more legit. So it helped me kind of step into that entrepreneur mindset, because like I have this business is a thing that exists outside of just me. So.
Well, there's anxiety on both sides, right? And I want to say that there's good anxiety or bad anxiety, but it's different. Mm-hmm. Because once you do decide to, let's say, run your own business or have a business, then actually you really need to embrace more responsibility than as a freelancer.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Because you're in charge of everything. That's the thing. Like you get to decide everything, but you also have to decide everything.
And keep deciding. Well, I take from what I see and what you're doing, and you're happy with your decision.
Yes, very much so. Mm-hmm.
All right. And what are the pluses of having your own company or being your own boss, if we want to say that?
Yeah, just I love that I get to decide who I work with and what I work on. Mm-hmm. That's a big one. If I want to change direction of my business, I'm free to do that at any time. I don't have to get, permission from higher ups. Vacation time is completely at my discretion, and just the flexibility of it, the freedom that comes with it. I mean, yes, there are a lot of responsibilities involved, but how you tackle them, you can fit into your lifestyle, fit into your schedule how you want. So that is a big, big perk for me.
And to the branding part, as a freelancer, it's sort of hard to even brand yourself as a freelancer because what you said, it's sort of all encompassing. You do anything. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So is it an easier transition in the branding, specifically for branding, once you decide I am going to be a company and it's easier to get your message across?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think it depends on what you're doing. Because I do see some like very successful personal brands, but they tend to be like the authors, the coaches, that kind of thing, where like the person is the service.
Right.
Whereas if you're offering like design or coding or photography or something, there's like a skill set. It's not necessarily directly the person. It's like this thing they're providing. So I think for certain industries, you can build a personal brand. For me, it was actually really helpful to have it, to kind of think about it as something separate from myself, because that helped me be intentional. Like, okay, what do I want this to be? What do I want to communicate with this brand? What is the vibe I want people to experience? How is this brand different? Like all those kinds of things, having that kind of separation helped me look at it a little more objectively, which is always helpful in the branding process.
And actually really stepping out of yourself and looking back and seeing not who you are, but what you're all about, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Very good. Well, how can our listeners find you?
I am on LinkedIn. That's my main social media channel these days. So just look up Amanda Guerassio on there, or you can find me on my website, which is studioguerassio.com.
Very good. So thanks for being here with us today.
And thank you for having me, Tom. This is fun.
And again, for our listeners, it's Amanda Guerassio, and it's Amanda, the last name Guerassio. You find her on LinkedIn and StudioGuerassio.com. StudioGuerassio.com. Café Networking is brought to us by Focus Semi Market Intelligence, an agricultural market research specialist in Brazil. More information at their site, focusmi.com. Talk to Tom, talk to the world. Thanks for listening. Until the next time here at Café and Networking Podcast.